All right, so we have opened up the event and I see some folks starting to join us. Hello, everybody. Awesome. And Hannah from the Pulitzer Center, are you also able to record?
I can. Do you need me to?
Yeah, just in case, that would be great.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hey, Guillaume. We are just welcoming our participants now. Yeah, do we have Yamoussa on the phone?
Yes, Yamoussa is on the phone.
That's great. Hey, Yamoussa, how are you?
I'm doing good. What about you?
Doing well, doing well. We are just now welcoming participants in our screening today. We have folks joining us from New York, from Canada, from Israel, from California, from Pennsylvania. Hey, William. My name is Fareed, and I'm the Senior Education Manager at the Pulitzer Center. And I'm joined by an incredible panel today who they're going to introduce themselves and tell us where they're based, while hopefully you do the same here in the chat. So, by the way, I am based in Washington, D.C. Again, my name is Fareed, and I am joined here by several people. Let's start with Pierre.
Yes, greetings and good afternoon. I would like to welcome all of you to Circus Without Borders screening and Talkback. The Smithsonian National Museum of African Art and the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting invite students, their families, and all who are interested in the power of art to celebrate joy and culture of this very special screening and talk featuring the filmmakers and subjects of Circus Without Borders. Our geographical focus is Guinea, West Africa. My name is Pierre Pennick, Curator for Education Programming K-12 at the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art. My role at the museum as the Curator of Education provides leadership, guidance, and management oversight of the museum's educational programming for K-12 in order to create an innovative and balanced program that responds to the museum's mission statement and strategic goals. I, along with Fareed Mustafi, we will be joining with the film's director, Susan Gray, the producer, Linda Matchen, and acrobats, Guillaume, Saladin, and Yamoussa Bangoura for Q&A before the screening of Circus Without Borders, a documentary about world-class acrobats, Saladin and Bangoura.
Thank you so much. And just so we get to hear all of their voices before we start, could we hear from everybody? Just tell us your name and where you're based today. Why don't we start with Linda?
Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Matchen. I'm the producer of the film Circus Without Borders, and I'm here in Boston.
Great. And I know we have Susan Gray as well. Hey, Susan.
Susan's
Hi, Fareed. It's Susan.
Awesome. Well, and it looks like I know that there's been some internet issues, so I think Susan's joining us from Maine today and is going to connect with us a little later this afternoon. And Guillaume, I see you with a phone. Tell us about where you are today and who's on that phone with you.
Yeah, this is me and my best friend, Yamoussa. So, I'm in Quebec right now.
Yamoussa!
Guillaume Saladin, co-founder of Artcirq in Nunavut, an Inuit circus, and I'm on the phone with Yamoussa Bangoura. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hello, hi everybody. This is Yamoussa Bangoura. I'm the head of Kalabante production. And I have some internet issue, but I'm in Guinea, West Africa right now. But we are based in Montreal, Canada.
Incredible. So excited that you all can join us today. And I know Yamoussa and Guillaume will be hearing from you in a little bit. Guillaume, were you going to say something?
No, can't wait for after the screening so we can share with you guys.
So speaking of, let me give you a glimpse at what we're going to be doing in the next hour and about 20 minutes. So first we'll hear from our guest producer and filmmaker, Linda Matchen and Susan Gray, about the film and about the clip we're going to see, where you will see Guillaume and Yamoussa in action, and also we'll see a glimpse into their lives. So then after the screening, we'll get to hear directly from them about that experience, a really rare opportunity. finally, we want to open plenty of time for you all to ask your questions. And those can be questions for anyone involved in the film, and also Pierre and I are here to answer questions as well. So first of all, we just want to acknowledge that a lot is happening in the world right now. We are dealing with a global pandemic. We are dealing with acknowledgement and grappling with a lot of historical trauma in the United States and all around the world. And just want to remind everyone to please take care of yourselves throughout the webinar. If you need to step away, if anything that you need, please do. This will be recorded, so you can always revisit it. Both Pierre at the National Museum of African Art and my team at the Pulitzer Center have also been working to create resources and connect with educators, students, schools, community members as much as we can to see how we can support. And that can look like a few of the events we'll share later today, but really can also look like anything that you can dream up. So please reach out. For our webinar today, we have two functions for you to interact with the group. So you should see a Q&A function, and that is what we will use to monitor questions. We'll also, if there's a question about the technology, feel free to put it in there and we'll work with you on that. However, if you want to interact with the whole group, we also have a chat box. The one thing that you just want to make sure to do is make sure above where you're typing that it is set to go to all panelists and attendees. So I'm seeing a lot of folks telling me where they're from, but their message is just going to the panelists right now. So make sure that you have your setting to all panelists and attendees so that you can connect with each other. Since I know we have some students on the call today, and it's just a good reminder for all of us, in the webinar, we're going to treat it as if we were in a public event. So please participate, engage, and be respectful, and know that your voice is an important part of creating this event. So we're excited to hear from you, and I'm excited to engage with you and learn today with you. Part of why I'm here today is because the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, where I work, is a nonprofit journalism organization that supported the film Circus Without Borders. And the reason we did that is because our mission is to increase engagement with underreported issues. And we do that by supporting journalism, which includes documentary film, and stories reported in over 100 different outlets all over the world every single year. So what we then do is, once those stories have been supported and published, we also have outreach programs like the one you're participating in today. And I actually work with the team that does that work in schools. Oops, here we go. Let me get that back to, are y'all seeing my presentation again, Pierre?
Yes.
Great. So these are some of the outlets that we've worked with. As you'll hear about our film today, we've seen stories produced and supported stories produced all over the world in outlets in many different languages and on many different subjects. These are some of the themes that the journalists we work with are reporting on, and many of these themes are explored in the film that you'll see today. But if you're interested in seeing more reporting that just isn't getting a lot of attention, and we call that reporting underreported stories, underreported issues, please check out our website, pulitzercenter.org. So the story that we're going to be looking at today is called Circus Without Borders. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our journalists, director, producer, Susan Gray and Linda Matchin, to tell us a little bit more about what this film is about, how it came to be, and what we should look for in the clip we're watching today. So I think, Susan, we're going to start with you. I'll turn it over to you.
So I'm having terrible internet problems and we'll probably be cut off. So Fareed, if you could send me the phone number and we could have Linda start. Are you hearing me?
I am. Yes, I'm going to send that to you right now.
Are you hearing me? Good. Excellent. So yeah, and I would just say that this film that you're about to see is about a circus or two circuses, but it's not really about circus. It's about art, not just a self-expression or creating beauty, but art is survival, a way out, a future, a way to find self-confidence, a way to find self-reliance and pride in yourself and pride in your culture. And that's what the two men, these extraordinary men who are on the phone right now or on this video call with you, we watched over 7 years provide to their communities. And it was an extraordinary journey that we took. We were at two opposite parts of the world, the Arctic, the Canadian Arctic, Nunavut, and we were at Guinea, West Africa. And over the course of the 7 years, they went from having dreams for their communities and the kids that they were working with, who were novices when they started, and became seasoned professionals by the end of our 7 years. And yeah, it was a 70-minute film, and we're going to see a 25-minute excerpt. Am I still here?
You're still here.
Yes,
Wow, it's
and
a
so
miracle.
beautifully said. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
And I know that part of the start of the story came from a reporting project that you worked on, Linda. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Hi, yeah, I'm Linda Matchin, and I, for many, many years, more than 30, was a staff reporter for the Boston Globe, mostly writing features. And during that, since I also, towards the end of those 30 years, developed a relationship with sorry, that's my dog, the Pulitzer Center. In my sort of parallel life as a documentary filmmaker, working with Susan at Northern Light Productions. So at one point at the Globe, I had the opportunity to write a travel story. They were letting reporters go to places that they really wanted to go. I happen to be Canadian, and something that had always interested me had to do with art in the Inuit region of Canada, known as Nunavut, up north around the Arctic Circle. This is the kind of thing that I really, really loved in, where I grew up. It was everywhere in museums and galleries. And I always wondered how it could be that so many Inuit artists could exist in this one concentrated place. So I convinced the Globe to send me to the Arctic with a photographer. And it came out with this story, which is about the art in a community called Cape Dorset. And this is a long way from circuses and a long way from Ghana. But as you find out when you're a journalist, sometimes unexpected things happen. And that's what took place in this case. While I was up in one of the communities in the north, a very tragic thing took place in a very tiny community of maybe 1,200 people. There was a young woman there who took her own life. And it was impossible to be in that community at that time and not be aware of how the community was devastated by it. And I began, when I got home, I started doing some research on young people and suicide in the Arctic, and came to find out that it was really an epidemic, and that there were really consequential reasons for why this was happening. But the long and the short of it was that it was related to the colonialism of the Inuit people, and the basically stamping out of their culture in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, 1940s, 50s, and 60s. I also learned that there was one community called Igloolik that had tried to help young people because by starting a circus up there. And the whole notion of an Inuit circus with hardly any people just seemed incredible to me. And it turned out to be called Artcirq. You've already met Guillaume, and he was the founder of it. And when I got back to the States, I was able to get a grant from the Pulitzer Center to do some more research on the issue of suicide and how this circus was helping. And that's how we learned that Guillaume had had a relationship with a circus across the world, which was Kalabante in Guinea, West Africa. You'll see from the clip how that came to be. And so I approached Susan, and we decided to make a film about the two circuses because their themes are really parallel. And the themes are really important. And one of them is that even if you come from different parts of the world, that could hardly be more different, cold, hot, north, south, you speak Inuktitut in one place and Susu in another. Despite all these differences, these two circuses had so much in common. These people in their communities really got to know each other and realized that they had more in common than different. And that's really one of the important themes of the circus, especially now at a time when there's so much fragmentation and so much polarization in the world, that people can really bond over a form of art and really help your communities and help young people not only find strong ways of living, but becoming even stronger working together.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that if you're interested in seeing some of the print reporting that Linda worked on, that's available on our website. Susan, can you tell us a little more about what we're going to see today?
I can, if you can still hear me. Am I
Yes,
still
we
here?
can.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. So I would say, in talking about the difference between a journalist and a documentary filmmaker, I'll say two things about being a documentary filmmaker. What's my job? My job is to give the microphone to great stories and great characters, great people who have something to say, because you take their message and you amplify it all over the world. And this film has been seen all over the world. So the first step is to find your characters, get to know them, and see if they have something to say that's worth amplifying. And that was the first step in meeting Yamoussa and Guillaume. And by the time I'd spent, my first trip up to meet Guillaume, I was convinced that this man was an extraordinary person who had a lot to teach me and had a lot to say that we would amplify. The other challenge is that you have to tell everything through images, and it's not like print, and you have to be there when it happens. So you're gonna see in this little piece that we did, by the time we showed up to start filming the Inuit circus, they had already had some level of success. And you're gonna see a trailer that sort of lays out the story for you very simply. It's two friends, two circuses, two opposite ends of the globe, one common mission, and that's to help their people. And then you're gonna see the two stories play out. First the Inuit story, and then you're gonna see the Ghanaian story, but they're slightly different. So Guillaume's job helping his kids, they're both former colonial countries. They're both on the bottom of the world economic ladder, but they're dealing with slightly different things. Guillaume is dealing with a loss of culture and tradition that's been taken away from the Inuit people, who lost their language, who were schooled in sort of Western schools by the Canadian government. So his job is to bring back their culture, bring back their hunting, their fishing, their throat singing, their drum dancing, and get them to have pride in being who they are, which are Inuit people first. And then with that pride, take it to the world stage. So when we met Guillaume, his mission was to get into the Olympics after he'd done the work with the youth and they had regained their traditions and put it into this circus, and then bring them to the Olympics. And that's what you're gonna see in the first half of this little trailer. Yamoussa's job was, he was dealing with poverty and they had a lot of political problems in Guinea, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity. So Yamoussa's job was to get his kids, sadly, sort of following in his footsteps, which was get out of Guinea, get picked up on the world international circuit of circus performers, which means you have to be the best in the world to make it. And then he went back to Guinea and his community, and he was trying to get his kids out. So when we started filming, we went to Guinea, we saw them struggling, never expecting them to get out. And then we followed this miraculous adventure as they got discovered, got out, tried out, and learned how to live in the Western culture and made it into this huge, spectacular international circus called Cavalier with horses. And that's what you're gonna see happen in these two little pieces we're gonna show you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Susan. Looking forward to it.
Have fun.
So we are about to start our screening. And also I just wanted to say that, as we're talking about, especially in this story, how preserving culture, especially examining the stories of Indigenous people in Canada, to acknowledge that where we are at the Pulitzer Center is on the land of the Anacostan and Piscataway. And if you're interested in looking at the heritage of the land that you're on, here's a website that has information for some parts of the world that you can check. Also, as you're watching the screening today, if you have questions about Guillaume's story, about Yamoussa's story, or really anything that you come up with, you can, as you're watching the film, start sharing those questions in the Q&A box. You can also help celebrate the film with Susan, Linda, Guillaume, Yamoussa, and all of us by all throughout the screening. If you hear something or see something that's inspiring or interesting to you, share it in the chat and we'll have a sort of running document of what is interesting and exciting to the group here. So we look forward to connecting with you there as we start our screening. All right, so I'm going to share our film. And I'll also keep an eye on the Q&A for if we're having any audio issues. Thank you and enjoy.
I remember when I was young, you have a little food and you have to split. Maybe have just a bite.
Igloolik is very, very young population. Lots of youth under 20 years old. Suicide affects so many people. Sometimes one person dies and then it's chain reaction, and that's very scary.
In Guinea, I see the potential and all the good acrobats. I need to help them too.
I was thinking I have to take care of those that we love.
When I do circus, all the bad things go away.
He started telling me he has his dream of going back to Guinea, start working with his brothers, and I was telling him, amen. That's exactly what I'm doing in the Arctic.
I said, this guy has such a beautiful quality that we should have it in the show.
When we're on stage, we know each other so much that it's very comfortable, it's very calm.
We are very close. We're like a family.
C'est pas les gens qui viennent faire des choses et partir. C'est nous qui doivent le changer.
I can't save no one, only me. That's everyone's responsibility to take care of their own life. When I started Artcirq, I thought we're gonna train a bunch of guys and girls, and maybe their kids would be able to tour the world. And then a year and a half later, we were in Timbuktu. And I was like, oh, I would never thought it would go so fast. After 8 months of training, already we have a show and people ask them around the world. We have to be careful because sometimes kind of success stories that build up very fast can crash also. We need to be sure that the base is solid.
My first trip was to Montreal, and I loved every minute of it. I get to share different stories with younger people, and I try and encourage them to do something in Igloolik and share to the world.
The goal of Artcirq is to reconcile, to take the best of both worlds. Best of the traditional world and best of modern world.
Our elders has always told us to carry some art of our culture. They say it's going to be better for our future if we keep the culture very strong and pass it down to our children.
We are showing Inuit games. The Inuit games are a little bit of practice for Inuit to be strong in the cold and very dry and harsh lands.
Inuit sports have always been competitive. Tests of strength, agility, and endurance. After all this activity, a love song, a lullaby to put the athletes to sleep.
Throat singing is over 2,000 years old. When the church went up north, they said it was a form of devil worship. All the women were forbidden to practice it, perform it, teach it. But the younger generation is bringing it back.
For such a long time, we have been misunderstood. This will show who we are, where we come from, and how we have survived, from ancient times to today.
We're involved in the Olympic ceremony representing Nunavut. 6 of us from Inuit, 16 from Nunavut altogether.
I can't wait to be hungry.
We are performing in front of the whole world. Right now I'm okay, but maybe tomorrow I'll get excited and get nervous a bit.
Today here at BC Place, we are honored to welcome Canada's newest territory, created in 1999, where the Northern Lights dance and polar bears roam. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Celebration Nunavut.
Beautiful day, Kivio is kayak way over on the other side of the ocean. When Kivio got to the other side of the ocean, he got homesick, so he started traveling, trying to find his way home.
When I met Guillaume, he told me, Yamoussa, we really have something in common. The thing he's doing, I'm doing the same thing to my country, so it's like a brother for me.
The first time I met Yamoussa was in 2001. And not long after that, I presented him my mother. We talked about his family, and right away we started saying, hey, one day, let's go back to Guinea. So it was an early dream that we had.
Ismaël, salut! Ah, je t'ai vu en vidéo.
Nous sommes très très heureux de vous voir avec nous aujourd'hui. Merci beaucoup.
Meeting Kalabante was pretty interesting. The love was strong, very strong. Friendship was strong.
Guys in Africa were asking all the questions they wanted to ask about here. How cold, what kind of food we eat, what schools we have. We just became very good friends.
Tu pousses plus. Si tu es capable vraiment d'être bien étiré, et une fois qu'on bloque, c'est facile, ça tient tout seul.
Today is the day we're meeting Yamoussa's world.
Tu vois, les bras sont bons.
That gives strength to any dreams we can have. If I'm dreaming something else that can be seen like crazy today, maybe it will happen.
Well, I was not a horse person. My background was in show business. And one day I brought a horse to a stage. The director of the show told me we should get rid of this horse, he's stealing focus. So my reactions was, well, we should put more horses. If he's stealing focus, it's because he's a star. We were dismantling in Montreal. I have a friend who was helping as a technician. And I was having a discussion with him, and I said, well, I'm looking for guys who can do strap, and I was explaining what kind of discipline. And he said, well, actually, I have one of the best acrobat in the world right here helping me to work and dismantling the tent. I auditioned Yamoussa, and I found him as an unbelievable performer. Great musician, great singer, and I told him right away, I said, you have a job, do you have any brothers?
I fell in love with his voice. I said to Norman, I said, this guy has such a beautiful quality that we should have it in the show.
Yamoussa started to tell me history about being involved with the circus school and all those acrobats in Guinea. And that stuck to my mind, and since then, we're trying to get the Guinean to come to Cavalia.
So I spent 5 days in Guinea, auditioning acrobats on a beach with rubbish, garbage everywhere, broken boats. On y va!
L'idée, comme des cavaliers, au début, c'était juste aller prendre 3 acrobates. Mais moi, je savais que le minimum qu'il allait prendre, c'était 10. Ça, c'était dans ma tête, mais j'essaie de lui parler. OK, il y en a beaucoup, mais quand Wayne est arrivé, Il y avait au moins 1000 personnes qui faisaient le tour de la plage. C'est vraiment une très très belle audition que j'ai vue de ma vie. Finalement, on a pris 8 personnes, après on est rendu à 10.
Ouais, bien. He's booked. He's booked too. Ouais, merci. Oh, fuck me, hein? Woo!
Oulalou sauté, Guérémoufa. Eh, walou, Guérémoufa. Kalabante na Guérémoufande. Eh, walou, Guérémoufa. Kourbe. Aongale awatanara.
Let's go. Come
Yamoussa, il est vraiment important pour nous. Hein? Il est vraiment important, il est vraiment gentil. Il fait beaucoup de choses à la famille, il aide beaucoup de monde. C'est lui qui nous a pris en Guinée jusqu'à Canada. C'est un peu loin, grande distance. C'est ça, vraiment Yamoussa, c'est mon frère.
Pour griller tout, mais c'est malade.
Merci voilà, tu n'avais pas quoi c'est voilà fanto. Mahek, il quoi n'en fait pas. Quoi n'en fait bien. Guinea. Finalement des kefili tout. Voilà, pour moi. N'étant où le subé toujours au c'est la rando fait subé qui a moi semblé dans le congelé. Ouais. Exactement. Et voilà comprendre. Wa barre toujours important parce que na lui qui mais non ma danglina ke fabe et c'est ton wemin rimakolo. Et voilà comprendre toujours ni minimum be barre à balan lambagne fa. Merci. Toujours c'est très important alors que na moyati. Albe, on a un bon enfant à la Rafi, vraiment. Ça fait à l'humain, c'est quoi les gambes n'enfouis des pindi mais de la hanto, abîme barbe enfouito, nous à la taille. Nous sommes sur quel was qu'elle n'a pas forêt là. Nous qui rendons nous l'avez, font petit, barafera d'anglais. Nous n'est rien à lui au maya, il est là. Forêt n'a nera, n'a imuno ida, forêt n'a nera, à nous voir en taillatma. Il était fora, il était enfant, il finit là-bas. Donc on doit vraiment te faire des on va faire nan là-bas. On fait des finalement. Donc on fait un là-bas. Et moi la Guinée qui est bien là. Mouillé. Mina mouillé tidé. Mirina Muyati, Fena Naki, Benna Falafebe, Kabara, Iagimanayati. Get in Mirina Sobedi. Hal Mirina Seravera. Inabra Mirima Guinea for la baby. That's important. Nafana Nana, bidding Guinness Somane. Guinea Fatamana with it. When you're Sayom Malia. Hal will say Salama, when I wait at Temas and baby. One torn like Anaka, cover Nanirani. No mas segundo Saladin, não fez ba. Ona redi na kwidiki, hal nere na be muna na redi ki. Ona kan fala fo beki. Ona redi na kan kwidiki, hal nere na be. E muna na redi ki. Ina bange ki, ima sarefima. Ide geri, ima sarefima. Isa refiri, ira wali. Idunuya isama, isa refiri na mera dunia sa. E mo avion sarefima. E mo se sarefima. Kari mundu danginara. Voilà tout. Donc fait na kimi reto manabe e wa fale ba e sare mu fi rapa ina e na ikine e da toro fe ne e da wal fe ne alo me sare fi ma wona brane fa wala di wona na kan ku ji wali na nyama o kedi so tobe o man to farde ne remo ba imma de wasga la Guinée ni kata mané al ko rano sigade e mangili wa
It's enough. So we're happy to be here. All right. Before I explain something of the show, I just want to lay down some rules. First rule, if you walk into this area without looking, you will be hit by a horse. It's not a game. The moment anybody begins to play, they are off.
In belief for our two feet about
For you guys, I met you, I got to spend 5 days with you, but now you're in another world. You're walking around now, with the eyes open. Don't get carried away with what you're seeing. You have to be centered and stable when you hit. Up, up, up. Hey, allez, go. Hey, 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 stop. Stop. Go. I have a rough ideas of where I'm going to go with them, but I want to see who can do what. But travel backwards. Don't let him go straight. You must go back a little bit. Go. Really, I have to get them fit because, as you can see, they're tiring quite quickly. Go, 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 go. Hup. Oh, it's a learning curve. Come on, go. Hop. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Okay, stretch down. Bravo. Vas-y, vas-y. We'll have some fun. Yeah.
All right. If we could send some virtual in the chat applause for Susan and Linda and Guillaume and Yamoussa, who got to at least we got to see a bit of their story. We thank you. I don't know if anybody, all panelists are seeing in the chat. I'm seeing beautiful, amazing. That was beautiful, awesome. Applause, amazing, fabulous. This is fantastic. I love this. The world, oh, Renee says, the world is and should be seen as one big family, as a reflection from the film. Please continue to share your reflections in the chat. You can hear the responses from our panelists today. And we're about to move into questions, so please start sharing your questions in the Q&A box. But before we go into the questions that you're submitting, we'd love to offer a moment. Guillaume, Yamoussa, if you're still able to be with us, can you tell us a little bit about your experience being a part of this film and what you hope that all of us will take from watching it?
Well, it's very touching because it's 7 years of our lives, like Susan was saying earlier. So to see back yourself is great because, yeah, if I had to redo again, for sure it would be differently, but with the same people. I'm with Yamoussa. Momo, you want to say something?
Yes, je n'ai pas bien écouté la question.
He said he didn't understood well the question.
Ah, great. Yamoussa, so good to hear your voice. Will you tell us what was it like for you to be in the film when it was filming, and what do you hope we learn from it?
Yes, so in the movie, what I like, it's seeing myself like giving opportunity to the young people, and that just like make me feel good, and seeing that you can show a way how for the young generation how to deal with their own life, not doing like the mistake, or if even they do mistake, they can still like keep going, because you know, in anything you do in life, right, you can how do you say, fail sometime, but in the film I see that like they all have courage, right? So that make me feel good in the film.
And if I could just add that why we're doing this, we're not doing this to create a movie. We're doing this because we believe in collective work. And then Susan, Linda, following us for a long time, it's now possible to share our little story with you guys and then reach more people. So it's very, very nice complementary work.
And also, like we want people to be themselves. So like even we are like doing things with like the community, but we want people to feel like themselves. They want them to see their life like growing with the community.
Amazing, and definitely feel I'm seeing in the chat here people seeing themselves in the film. We have a lot of artists listening today as well. Maybe one last question I have for you both before we turn it over to the questions from everybody for you all is, can you tell us a little bit, give us an update on the two circuses now and on you? Where are you all at now? Tell us about what the circuses you're
okay, Yamoussa, you want to start to tell us where you're with Kalabante?
Yeah, with Kalabante now, we have like the third generation now. And right now we're in Guinea. We're supposed to do like a touring in the US this year, 2020. but we all know about the COVID-19, so everything is how to say in 2021 now, and but it's also good because we all like are in Guinea back home and trying to do new things, and everybody is happy, and people are like growing now. Without show, we're trying to do some time together. We're spending time and to know more each other without show. So that's really good. And I'm sure like when the COVID, I hope when it's done, we all gonna do a great job in the US, maybe like meet you guys one day, why not? But for now, everybody's happy, we're just waiting, we can't wait to restart like the shows.
And for us, over the last 4 years, we collaborated with 2 other companies to create a big show. And that show was performed in last January. So we did one big tour across Canada, and then the pandemic arrived. So of course, Nunavut is many isolated communities, so they just closed the borders and everything stopped. No case of COVID in Nunavut yet. So this is great, but that also means cut off the world. And me, I'm stuck down south, so I can't go up to Igloolik until something changed. But our main focus in our community, in our company, is Igloolik. So our work had been continuing. We have a space, a training space there called the Black Box. So young people can go train themselves. And we have been continuing to offer our service. Next week, a group of 8 youth are going to do an expedition by walk out on the land. So with elders, so that's another side of us.
Fantastic. I'm so glad everybody's healthy, and yes, we would all love to see your performances in person one day, and hope so. So with that, what we're gonna do, since we have a little bit over a half an hour left, I'm hoping that gives us plenty of time. You can see here, I just had to show you this picture. We got to reflect a little bit with just Guillaume and Yamoussa, but now I'm gonna turn it over to our host, Pierre Pennick, the Curator of Education Programs at the National Museum of African Art, to lead us in a Q&A, and she'll start with a few questions, but we'll also be watching the Q&A box and the chat for your questions and want to answer as many as we can. So with that, Pierre, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Fareed. Really appreciate that. It was so wonderful to see the film. It makes me want to start out with Linda. The first question is for you. What was your muse for creating this documentary?
Well, it's a complicated answer because it didn't start out as a film about circuses. It started out as a film about one circus, Artcirq. And as Susan mentioned, this was a process that took like 7 years to actually complete. And it also took time to raise the money to finish it. So we had the luxury of being able to be at the margins, watching to see what would happen. We didn't know where this film was going to go. Originally, it was just a film about Artcirq. And then as we got to know Guillaume better and the Artcirq acrobats, it became clear that he was, an important part of his story was his relationship with Yamoussa, and how much he felt Yamoussa was his brother, and how even though their lives and backgrounds are very different, they were actually kindred spirits. And he started to prepare the circus for a trip to Guinea, and we decided we wanted to come along, not really knowing where this would take us. But once we got there, we realized and saw, I think it was that scene that you see in which they greet each other and see each other for the first time. And how much they learn from one another and were so eager to embrace one another and their traditions and their approaches to acrobatics. I think that's when we realized that we wouldn't do justice to this film until it became a film about two circuses. And so that's kind of what happened. And we saw it through to a logical end. And it ended up becoming a film not about how one community addressed a suicide issue, but how two communities embraced one another, saw through their differences and saw that they really could learn from each other, and how their differences really, in learning about their differences, really enhanced their own lives. And we've taken the film with the Pulitzer Center to schools across the United States and into Canada. So Susan and I and Yamoussa and Guillaume have been taking it to schools to show to young people. And it's been really, really heartwarming and affirming to see how much they appreciate learning, that with so few resources, you can do so much, and how no matter how much deprivation there is in your lives, there is so much richness in it as well. And so so I guess the short answer is the muse was evolving as we went along.
Fair enough. I really feel this film was also about embracing self-identity and how we can develop that reciprocity with another culture through embracing our own identity. That's excellent. Susan, this next question is for you. What was most inspiring to you about this finished product?
Well, I would say that the film ever got finished was the most inspiring part, because I'll tell you, there were about 1,000 times when we never thought that would happen. I was really pleased that we began this process, I think, with a lot of suspicion about each other. And it began with an article about a problem with suicide in the art.
Okay, Susan's breaking up a little bit.
Well, Susan, if you can hear me.
Here I am. I'm back. I'm back. So it really started out with this story about suicide when we first began, that there was a problem with the Inuit youth and that this circus had been started up in the Arctic to help with suicide. And when we first met Guillaume, the first thing he said was, I don't want you making a film about suicide. I don't want to hear about the problems. I'm not interested in hearing about all the problems and everything. You know, we're not looking at the problems, we're looking how to move forward and provide a life for everybody and be positive. And he was doing that. And so it was really, and that's when I decided I could work with him. And then it was just going along for the ride and really learning from them. And the same goes for Yamoussa, getting down to Guinea and finding out with all the problems there. We arrived in this state of military emergency with gunfire going off on every corner, and we're almost thrown in prison for taking images that we weren't supposed to take. And yet they're doing flips through the whole thing and managed to get out. So to see that, just following them and what this film was about, what they were trying to do, and seeing where it led after all these years and the success that they've had, and meeting the Pulitzer Center. I mean, the Pulitzer Center really understood the power of this film, and that so many people see themselves in it, especially now with all this talk about immigrants. You know, it's just so negative, the discussion's so negative. And in the film, you see somebody from another country and you realize what they go through to get here, and you realize we're all people. You know, it's a story about people, and it doesn't matter if we're all speaking 4 different languages. And I think that really comes across in the film. I think you fall in love with the characters despite all the challenges.
Thank you so much for your answer. The next question is for Guillaume. My question to you is, what was your experience working with the filmmakers?
Very interesting. First, we want to talk about suicide or social issues, but from our own point of view. kind of tired of an outside eyes that is trying to reduce us to a 52-minute format of another vision on our reality. We want to tell our own stories. There is some movie makers in the North, so that always had been our priority, to collaborate with people who understand our reality. Because for too long, so the Southerners have been adding an image to the Northerners, the way the Southerners think. So anyway, so we said, when we agreed to collaborate all together, we said, okay, but we want to have our word to say in the way you're telling our story as well. So it was very challenging for Susan, for Linda, for us, for Yamoussa, because, hey, it's always harder to work 4 people together than do things by your own, you know, changing point of view. And then, but at the end, it's so nice to see ourselves the way, I mean, with not too many distortion. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. And I'd like to pose that same exact question to Yamoussa. What was your experience like working with the directors?
I have to say, I just want to add something like Guillaume said. Like your question was how I find like working with the filmmakers.
Yes, yes, your experience.
The experience, okay. My point of view, it's like Guillaume said, is like to work with 4 people by yourself, like and the Guinea, we're not allowed like to talk about all the political things. So when me and Susan, we were here, and Linda, they're the military. So I find that difficult because it can be like hard for my family, because I will leave the country, but my company will still be there, the school will still be there, and I was kind of scared to bring them like problem. I'm supposed to like resolve like problem, not like bring the problem in, right? So it was for me like following, like for the 7 years of work with them, like make me myself, I don't know, like how to say, when I see myself, I'm like kind of that. And for now, I don't have that kind of point of view, because I was like sometimes being too much, you know, I don't know, telling everything on the camera. So when I look at that now, sometimes I feel like uncomfortable, like telling people what to do, not to do, you know. But anyway, it was a good experience working with them, and I learned a lot of things with them, and they're so good people. And it was a really good 7 years spending with them.
Thank you so much. That leads me into my next question for Guillaume. How has this 7-year experience changed you?
Actually, you've been seeing 7 years, but I grew up partly in Igloolik all my life. So it's not 7 years that is changing me, it's the 47 years altogether. And identity, who do you belong to? What is your community? Me, I'm a visible minority in the North, because everybody's Inuit. There's very few white people. So I always had been on the other side. The North changed me very much. I received a name that linked me to an old leader of Igloolik. And this name, Ituksaarjuat, I think made me invest myself in Igloolik. If I was only Guillaume Saladin, I don't think I would be living still in Nunavut and working with young people. So identity, who do you belong to? What is your background? What is your own history? And this is there should be a movie for every one of you made on yourself. Yeah, so that's what it gave me. It gave me time to reflect on who am I and what am I trying to do in my life, you know.
Great, thank you. That same question to Yamoussa. How has this experience changed you?
It changed me a lot. It gave me like different point of view, like being a leader and also being like a big brother. Yeah, so and even like working with the big shows, seeing everything like on the camera and behind the camera, and how people can do things. So, you know, we all, you know, I remember when we start the movie and all those young boy, they're now like adults. Now some are married and some are still like with shows. Some are not doing at all the show. So it's, you know, it just make me grow like, you know, on everything, you know. And like working also with Guillaume and all the Inuit, we've been friends like almost 20 years now. So, and it's still, we're still good friends, we still talk, and then he's always welcome to my place, and I'm always welcome to the daughter at his place. So I hope one day our kids will play together and do the same thing or better than us. So it's just experience, it's life experience. So I really love it.
Thank you. And this question is for Linda. What were some of the biggest challenges in putting this film together?
You know, one of the biggest challenges that I still think about a lot, because it's topical these days, and Susan already alluded to it, but it was, how do you get, do we have a right to tell the story of two different cultures when we are not of that culture? And, you know, as a journalist, what I do for a living and have done for almost 40 years is tell people stories. And of course, I don't share the experiences of all those people. I mean, that would be, you know, impossible. All I can do is see it from the outside. And I never, until I began working on this film, it never even occurred to me that I didn't have a role to play or a right to tell this story. But this one was very different because both stories are rooted in a colonialist period when white people came in from the outside and determined what they felt was best for the Inuit people, you know, in the Canadian Arctic and the African people. And, you know, their cultures were very much impacted by that. And, you know, the ripple effects are still being felt today. And so, of course, there was suspicion, I think discomfort initially, especially I think in the Arctic. And it was challenging. I mean, how do you say to people, trust us, we have your best interests at heart? I mean, why should they? Anyway, you know, their experience with white people hasn't been positive, to say the least. But I like to think, I mean, they're just incredibly warm and open people. And I like to think that, you know, over time, I think the advantage of the fact that it took us so long to raise the money was that we were able to spend lots and lots of time with them. We would, you know, when they would come to different places in Canada, we would just go meet them, and took a few trips up north, and we got to know each other as people, and it just sort of naturally evolved. And, you know, and I think there were no surprises for Guillaume in the film, and Yamoussa, we let them know and show them some early cuts along the way. So it did start to feel like a collaboration, even though the voice was our voice and it wasn't their film. So, I mean, it's a good question for Guillaume and Yamoussa, I guess, which is, you know, do we have a right to tell your story? And
No, thank you. That's kind of leading me into the next question for both of them. So Guillaume, we can start with you. In regard to having your story told by the other, quote unquote, how do you feel in regard to interpretation and empathy? How do you feel about your story being interpreted by someone who did not necessarily experience identically what you've experienced in your life?
Thank you. That's a very meaningful question. For sure, that's why we were hesitating so much at the beginning of the collaboration. We have been collaborating with video productions made by Inuit. That's how we started Artcirq, as a little filmmaking group for young people. So we have been around with camera, recording ourselves, telling our own stories. And one of the reasons we thought that it could be interesting is it's very tiring to always record yourself, record your own process from within, you know? So having the freedom of really being ourselves and continuing to work, but having a team that is there, fully professional, that can cover your story and that you trust them. That's the key. So along the way, we were able to change little directions. Yes, this, maybe more of that. And actually look at all the other productions we did from ourselves and look at this one, and it's going to be pretty much the same. So I think we did a good work in telling a reality that really happened. It's not Walt Disney production at all.
That's very important. I'd actually like to address that same question to Yamoussa in regard to having your story told by the other or by someone you trust. How did you feel having your story be told by someone other than you?
Done? At a moment? Okay, good.
It's a really good question. We have like a proverb in Africa here, like saying that you cannot tell your story. We have those people who we call like griot, who told like your story. So it's kind of similar for me, like seeing older. So I'm going to just explain the griot. It's the people who have West African story, like all the name, the meaning of the name, your ancestor, where they're from, where they live, how they belong. So they have, they can tell your story, who you are exactly. And you cannot like, how do you say, like tell your story by your own, right? So it's kind of like similar, like seeing like somebody from an outsider from another community, another like different culture. They have a different way to see who they tell the story, right? So if they didn't do that, even like was myself, I cannot like do the right things. I mean, like tell all the details like they did. It's really, really like good, like seeing the touch they have. They help you to like how to say, like bring like things from you, inside of you, like to tell to the people. Like it's really strong how the approach they have, like Linda and Susan, the question, the way they approach people, and it's really cool. Like that makes you like confident, because me and Guillaume, we did already like a video of Nomad, and myself, I work with Circus Without, we did another video. The approach wasn't the same. Like the way they come to you, like the friendship they create, like make you like believe them, and then like you don't have like any like filter. You don't want like how do you say, keep things for yourself. You want just, give like people to know what's your reality, what you live, what are you living, and all those kids, what the story was, how they're living. So it's really good, like working with them. You just make yourself, like how do you say, just make you tell your story, because they do that really well. And you don't feel like they like forcing you. You just like want to tell your story with being with them. So I find it wonderful working with them, and I think your story have to be like told by somebody else, not yourself. That's our way to see things in West Africa. So I think it's good.
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. I think I'm curious, Guillaume, what other types of projects are you interested in doing in the future?
Culturally based or rooted. I think preserving the knowledge, because we're going so fast in our time of internet information, and we forget. And elders also go. And my dad was telling me that when he was when he was young, he was interviewing Inuit elders. And at the time, those elders, they had young kids. Today, those young kids are the elders.
Right.
So that generations are going, and we have to remember them, because it makes sense. Live in Igloolik or in the north without believing in Inuit traditional culture, you'll have lots of nonsense around you.
Exactly.
So more and more, and maybe less touring around the world and more learning how to fish in Igloolik.
Back to basics.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to give Yamoussa that same question. What other projects are you working on in the future? What are you interested in doing pretty much in the future?
I was interested in like Kalabante get bigger and tour the world, and that's what we're doing, still doing. We have we had a lot of shows. We've been to Mexico, and we did how do you say, show for 20,000 people, 25,000 people. So I was really, really happy. And now we're supposed to be touring now the States, and I was so excited. But at the same time, the COVID era, the pandemic, we have the really bad side. But also, I feel like the good side right now, because now I'm in Guinea, I'm like a peace, I'm not like running every time. And now I'm fishing now. For this year, I'm like a fisher. I'm a fisherman now. That's what I'm doing now. Like all the things, like going to the boat with the boat, like fishing crabs and all the fish, and bringing home, eating with all the acrobats. So it's really good. And then I'm playing music, laughing, like inspiring myself. And then my head is still working for the show, but at the same time, my soul is like so peaceful. I'm like, I'm like ready. I think this time had to come, like to take this moment without doing nothing, just like doing simple things like. And now, soon I'll be back in Montreal. I will be like, my head will be like so clean, and then so like wide, seeing life differently, and then now running all the time, and bring Kalabante to another level. So that's what I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you. That pretty much leads me into my next question for both of you. Guillaume, if you could answer this first. What advice can you give our young, noble viewers about following their dreams and passions? because you had mentioned, Guillaume, exactly that, our youth.
Yes, I think it's very important to believe in yourself before believing in somebody else or something else. Falling, failing is part of the process. Don't think things are going to be very easy. It's not. But do things that you like, because when it's challenging time and you like doing it, you're going to persevere. And those are keys for your whole life. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a moment in your life when you're a teenager to young adult where you meet lots of people. So your life can go and switch very fast. And then you're going to get older, you're going to have kids, family, and then it's going to be slower, those big moments of change. So when you're 17, 15, 20, 25, don't be scared to try something new or change direction, because it's the time. And that can inspire you very much for future.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And Yamoussa, I would love to hear your answer as well of what advice can you give young people about following their dreams and passions?
Okay, hold on, I'm trying to put it on.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Momo, attends un petit peu, ça marche pas là. Attends un peu, je te raccroche, je te rappelle. Okay, wait, I'm going to call him back because my phone was frozen.
Okay.
Okay, he's going to answer back.
Okay.
Meanwhile, it's very interesting, this back and forth on virtual. It seems like a plan B, because the real way is to connect and be all together. But in this plan B, there is lots of great opportunities, because he can stay with his family in Guinea. I can stay with my family here, everyone. And then we can still connect. So I really hope the message is going through, because it's very important.
Sure, no problem. You know, I firmly believe virtual is the future. You know, virtual learning, conferences, meetings is definitely the future.
How can we feel the goosebump, you know?
Exactly. But while you're waiting for him, I'm just going to direct a question to Linda and Susan real quick, and then we can go back to him. Yes. Susan and Linda, both of you, what advice can you give our students who are interested in creating their own documentary films?
Well, I'll go first, Susan.
I'm going to quickly go, Linda, because I'm going to cut out.
Okay.
No, because I'm going to cut out. I just have two quick things. One is, don't give up. We could have given up 1,000 times doing this, and we kept going. The second thing is, follow your heart and do something that matters.
That was excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. I would just add to that be open. I mean, this film is a really good example of you don't really know where it's going at the beginning, but just follow your curiosity, and which is a luxury to be able to do, but just let the story take you where it wants to go. Don't impose the structure from outside. I can't tell you how many things I've written that ended up way different than what I originally thought that the story was.
Okay, thank you. Fareed, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from Yamoussa, and then I see that we're nearing our time here. So there are a few questions here in the Q&A box that I can answer a few, and then I've got one last one from the Q&A box that I'd love to ask the participants, if that's all right.
Yes, of course.
So why don't we go back to Yamoussa? Tell us, still not yet, huh?
I'm still trying.
Okay.
No problem. Well, I'll answer a few questions here from the Q&A and then pose one to everybody. So we have a question from Lee about how the film will be available for screening to students. Just a quick reminder that you will receive a follow-up email that includes the clip from today, and then if you and also instructions to access the film. It's available to buy, so you can get the film and support it by ordering it online. But also, we do have it accessible to educators, to students, so you can reply, and we'll give you access to that as well. So thank you, Lee, for that question. Karina asked, will this program be ongoing? And we're actually going to be talking, Pierre and I, about some events following today, but we want to know more of what kinds of events you like. So at the end of today's presentation, there'll be a short survey. It should only take about a minute, and that'll be a place for you to share a little bit of how we can support you. I see here that Renee is asking about lesson plans connected to the doc. I just shared a link to that in the chat, and we'll also be sharing that with all the participants who registered. Curriculum created by an educator in Arlington Heights, Illinois. It's really strong. Thank you, Renee. And this brings us to the question for everybody that comes from Anne Briggs. And Anne wants to know, Guillaume, Yamoussa, Linda and Susan, how can we stay in touch about your upcoming wonderful projects? Maybe we'll start with Guillaume. How do we stay in touch and learn more about what you're doing?
The best way is to come and visit us in Igloolik. But if you can't, follow our website. But I'm not much of a update kind of guy. So for sure, you have a good collection of what we did. We have an Artcirq fan Facebook thing. Again, that you can try. artcirq.org. That's our website. But the best way is in person. From my point of view.
Awesome. And you can always reach out to Pulitzer Center if you are interested in finding a way to connect around this film.
And Yamoussa he's a more social media guy with big updates all the time, touring, performing here and there. I don't have his website by heart, but maybe through Farid and Pulitzer, our website information can be shared.
Absolutely. Linda, tell us a little bit, how can we stay in touch with you and what you're working on next?
I am building a website called lindamachin.com, but it's not ready yet. And with Susan, I am working on a new film, this one in Ghana, about somebody, same sort of story, somebody I met in Ghana when I was there working on a totally different story. But it's about a Ghanaian artist, a sculptor who is making sculptures about both about slavery, about enslaved Africans, and his work can be seen at the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. And he's also working on this breathtaking exhibit in Ghana that's about 5 miles long, which tells the entire history of the story of African history through sculpture on his ancestral land, with a portion about the slave trade, but that's certainly by no means all of it. And it's called Lost Ancestors. If you Google it, you'll see it.
Excellent. And Pulitzer Center is very excited to be connected to support that project. Susan, how can we stay in touch with you?
You can just email me. My email is susangraymail, and that's Gray mail @gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you.
Very generous and just shared in the chat. We really appreciate it. And with that, I know Pierre and I both have a few events that we want to tell you about. Pierre, is it all right if I pull up the slides and I can turn it over to you to tell us about some of what you have going on? I think the first thing I see here is, by the way, presenters, after I share these events, I will open it back to you if there's anything else that you didn't get to say. So let me know at the end if you think of anything else. First of all, if you want to connect with other grantees from the Pulitzer Center, we are hosting some webinars in the next few weeks. We have one for educators this upcoming Wednesday at 5:30. This is with Abram Lusgarten from ProPublica to speak about his piece he wrote in collaboration with the New York Times Magazine about climate migration, which is a data journalism story, but also a really compelling several personal narratives told through photography and writing. And tell us about this exciting program, Pierre.
Okay. Well, first we have some exciting exhibits going on. Even though the museum is physically closed to the public, we do have ongoing programming online. And so we have an international webinar coming up called Explore the Heroes Exhibit First. And if you click on that, you'll be able to connect to it. It's Wednesday, August 26th from 1:30 to 3:30. We also have a wonderful, for teens, we have a Teen Film Fest coming up. That will be at the end of October. So if you know of any teens who have done films, documentary films on their iPhone, to please send them to me. My email is pennickp@si.edu, and it's also online. It's also on the website, so you'll be able to find everything on the website. I want to invite you to many of our newest exhibits. We have our Caravans of Gold exhibit, which focuses on the Sub-Saharan Africa during the Middle Ages and fragments and artifacts during that time that have been found. So we'd really love for you to explore the exhibit more, look at our collections, look at the events we have coming up virtually, and we invite you to share them with others.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I was clicking ahead. I thought I had the film festival in here. Maybe it will appear.
Oh, that's definitely online. So you can always go, and it's been extended to the end of September. So it still is online. There's been an extension.
Wonderful. A quick note that if at any point you would like to connect a journalist, whether that's someone who's worked in film, photography, print, creating websites, doing drone photography, whatever it may be on whatever subject you could be interested in, reach out to education@pulitzercenter.org. All four of the presenters you've met today are incredible in classrooms. So please let us know if you'd like to connect them with your school. Just for the educators out there, also wanted to let you know that we've launched our inaugural teacher fellowship. This is a paid opportunity for teachers to create curricula focused on media literacy around COVID-19. And then another track is around art and justice to communicate art to communicate underreported stories about justice. So please apply. We'd love to meet you all. And at any point, please connect with us because we want to know how we can better support you in your communities. And with that, I'm going to go ahead before I close today's webinar and launch our survey, which we really hope you'll stay and take. Panelists, is there anything that you didn't get to share that you'd like to close with today?
Yamoussa is back with us, so maybe he can have a closing word. Ok, Momo. C'était juste pour dire au revoir. Si tu avais quelque chose d'autre à rajouter.
Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. I hope next time I will have a better connection. So I can't wait to see you, all of you, and so I hope all the pandemic will go away soon and to restart our beautiful life. So I kiss you, everybody. Okay, big hug.
And to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Susan, please.
Thank you, Fareed. No, just thank you. Thank you for setting the whole thing up and really getting this out to people. You're really doing an amazing job. We're really grateful.
Oh, thank you. We couldn't do it without Pierre Pennick and the National Museum of African Art.
Thank you. Thank you, Fareed. And I want to personally thank all of the panelists who showed up today. We welcome you, and we are definitely looking forward to more programming like this and for keeping in touch with all of you, especially you, Linda, with your project in Ghana. That's very exciting as well. So I look forward to connecting with all of you again.
Well, thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and close the webinar, and you'll see the survey appear, and we look forward to hearing from you. Wishing you all the best. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.